Gonna proc it now. Gonna proc it now. By Jackson Aurelia. Jackson Aurelia. Gonna proc it now. Gonna proc it now. Proc it Jackson Aurelia. T-Force.
Welcome to the rework of the T-Force. Now we going hard cause we bumping at the beat source. It's a 3-course dinner of dudes bringing the news and stats, interviews and cash from the pro scene. So fresh and so clean, like you're leaning with Nami in the bot lane. Keep it hot like brand, practicing his dot game. Give it to you easy like you're Resi in a bot game. Imagine Draven at prime time. Now ulti like LeBlanc can copy that 4 times, but manlier. Knock it up like now fight planning a family-er. You gotta be tuned in like Sona on the ad wall. Get on the chat call. Can a podcast really be all that? Of course. How do 4 guys make a Triforce?
Hey guys, welcome to Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell. I am your host this evening. Everybody's here, the normal people. I had to bring this up because I went back and listened to episode number 100 the other day because I was talking to Auslander and he had brought something that happened up in episode 100. And I listened to the intro of it, and I've been doing this stupid intro for at least 130 episodes, if not more.
What's the problem?
It's time to change it up.
It's time to change it up.
I'm okay change it. You can't change the intro.
I have to just always be like, hey, this is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell.
Yes. That's what you do.
That's me.
That's the only thing you're good for.
That's your podcast intro.
That's your catchphrase.
Thanks, Days. That's
all we expect of you, actually.
That's all I have to do. I just have to show up and intro the podcast, and then I can leave, right?
The podcast might be better for that, actually.
Well, you have to change topics,
I'm just
too.
joking.
Oh, damn it. I have to keep
Otherwise, we'll just talk about the same topic for an hour.
All right, well, we're going to talk about how great Chiro looks tonight with his...
Yeah, man, I grew my beard out. And the rest of my hair.
I like the look.
Yeah, I like the way you manage your whiskers.
Yeah.
It looks like you added some highlights, too.
Yeah, look at my beautiful face and my cool eyes.
You don't look too happy, though, buddy.
I'm pissed.
Angry.
Wow, all right.
For our listeners out there, there's a cat.
Yeah, that my cat is straight up right. Have the camera centered right on her nose.
All right, guys, if you are out there and you want to be part of the discussion, please go check out the T-Force Network subreddit, which is just T-Force Network, all one word. If you know how to use Reddit, you know how to get there. It's reddit.com/r/T-Force Network. Go ahead and subscribe, and you'll see all of our updates about the show and, you know, all sponsors and anything that has to do with Bronze Boot Camp. Everything that is T-Force related goes there. Like, for example, we have the Lightbringer Guild Filthy Casuals. They're a Lions Guild. They're looking for more people, so if you want to check them out at trinityforcepodcast.com/FK or wild@trinityforcepodcast.com. You can also find that information over there. They're streaming every Tuesday and Thursday night. Those guys have been doing a fantastic job. You can go see them. I think they're like 6 of 7. Is that what it is on High Malls? There's 7 bosses, Chira?
I don't want... Wait.
I think there's 7.
Give me a second to figure it out.
Use your fingers.
Well, while the cat is counting its thumbs...
I don't know. Hold on.
Well, they're 6 of 7 high ball. They're like 2 of 7 in heroic. If 3 of 7, they may have done one last week. Anyway, go check those guys out. They're doing awesome. As well, we have some other interesting news that has popped up, and that's we need you to go out to podcastawards.com by February 6th. By the time you listen to this podcast, you have less than a day, and you need to go nominate us for the best gaming podcast. If you remember last year,
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Well, neither did we.
Yeah, we didn't either. Like, I just happened to check the website yesterday. And it was like, hey, nominations are open. I was like, shit, we're like 2 weeks behind.
Way behind.
So you guys need to get out there, podcastawards.com, add Trinity Force Podcast, trinityforcepodcast.com into the gaming section of that, and nominate us. This isn't for the winners. This is just to get us in the running for votes. If you remember last year, we got everyone together, and we had a live stream about it, and there was like a whole bunch of people watching, and then they said, and the winner is Rooster Teeth, and we're like, oh...
Well,
we were nominated, though.
Yeah, we got nominated.
Right.
One of the nominees.
And we had a lot of fun. Let's get us a trophy this year, guys. There's more of you listening than were last year. There's more of the community out there ready to push into their number of hours and really get this thing going. So podcastawards.com, check that out. And there's more changes, actually. Battle Arena. Bronze Boot Camp is changing a little bit. We have a new sign-up sheet for Bronze Boot Camp. You can go check that out. That is on the T-Force Network subreddit or on the top of trinityforcepodcast.com. What you do is we want to make it easier for people to get into the games, because for the very long time it's been first come, first serve, and then I've had some complaints like I got booted out and I couldn't get back in because nobody knew I was supposed to be in that game, so somebody else took my spot. Or, you know, I couldn't play because the same person was playing 3 or 4 times in a row. So to alleviate that, we've created a sign-up sheet, and you can can go check that out. Please sign up for Bronze Boot Camp. Battle Arena is going to eventually get that. We're kind of test running it with Bronze Boot Camp to make sure it works, first and foremost. So Bronze Boot Camp, Saturdays at noon Eastern Time until 3. We have a sign up for Game 1, Game 2, and Game 3. Lots of rules, all that information's out there. You can check that out as well. And I think that's pretty much it for... Oh, wait. Yeah, that's everything for announcements, unless you guys got something to announce. I mean, Chira already announced coming out of the closet as the kitty cat.
Yep, damn right.
We'll move into the donations, and we'll move into what we're talking about this evening. So, donations. The Keyboard Cat donated $20 to the podcast. He says, been listening since before episode 100, but I still suck. Oh, well. P.S. I missed Dom.
Well, big fan, Keyboard Cat. Thank you. Thank you for being a fan of us.
I know. How great for us to be blessed by the presence of the Keyboard Cat.
It's an honor.
We're kind of paying an homage to him right now.
Yeah, I'm about to say, my keyboard's right there, and my cat's right next to it, so let's just pretend he's with us right now.
Yes, absolutely. You guys can go please, if you would like to donate to the podcast, check us out. Again, the T-Force Network has a link there, or tforce.trinityforcepodcast.com. You find the donation link on the right-hand side. We've had, like, this kind of hard for me to say, but we have to move the server and everything, and money is a little tight, so anything you guys can do can help, but we're going to make sure the podcast keeps pushing forward. I'm not putting my burden on you guys. I'm going to make sure everything's out there and taken care of, so that's a discussion for another day off the show. So last week at the end, we're moving to League of Legends discussion now. If you listen to B3,
yay!
So at the end of the podcast last week, I said, "Oh my God, this is the first time we've ever made it through an entire patch in one episode. We went an hour and 20 minutes, and we talked about everything." But we didn't. We missed a whole...
Just kidding.
We missed a whole giant portion of those patch notes at the bottom.
At least we've consistently failed to hit everything on the patch notes.
That's right. Consistency is key. So long as you're consistently wrong, that's still better than being inconsistent.
Is that what we're telling our listeners
about
being terrible? As long as you're always terrible, it's okay.
As long as you're consistently terrible.
That's different.
Your teammates know what to expect.
I had to poke fun at myself. So yeah, we have a whole bunch of patch notes to run over for patch 5.2. We're going to talk about Tristana, and if there's time at the end, which there should be, we're going to talk about the Lola stuff. If we don't get to the Lola stuff, we are working on a video series for that as well. I know Days and I had talked about that today, and she has done quite a bit of research on those games, and we think it'd be very beneficial, even if we do talk about it on the podcast, for you guys to go and look at the videos, because it's easier for you to look at a video to know what's going on than us try to make you remember something that happened 2 weeks ago. So,
good point.
That's where we're at. I'm going to start again on jungle items, and then we're going to go down, because we had briefly touched on the jungle item changes. Chira, as of patch 5.2, all tier 2 jungle items are now 450 gold from 350 gold, and the cost for all tier 3 jungle enchantments have been reduced by 100 gold. You were telling me there's a new path people are taking in the jungle, and I'm assuming that's with 5.2.
Yeah. A lot of people are now basically, they'll do their regular clear, so that means, like, if you're on red side, purple side, whatever you want to call it, you'll kill your grump and move to blue, and then kill wolves, and then you can go kill the crab, and you basically are at the same amount of gold you would have otherwise. Some people will go and they'll kill blue, crab, and then wolves. It doesn't really matter. It's just whatever you want to do. But basically, if you kill the crab on whatever side of the jungle you're starting on, and that can actually make for some really interesting level 2 fights, where you and the enemy jungler are fighting at that crab to try and get a small gold advantage. You don't have to by any means kill the crab, but if you're missing out on going back and buying those 3 health potions that you've been buying in the past, go try your luck and kill a crab and then go back.
Well, how much is the crab worth? 35 gold?
55.
Yeah, that's about right. 55.
Yep. So I don't think the crab's necessary.
It isn't. It can help.
Get the Rangers. Just get the Rangers Trailblazer, because you can swap it out for free anyway. It might impact that clears ganking potential, but usually you go... killing the scuttle crab will take long enough to where you're leaving your other buff vulnerable for steal.
That's what I wanted to ask, is how long does it take to kill the scuttle crab?
Honestly, not that long. No, not long early, because he doesn't have... the crab levels up every time you kill it, just like all the other jungle monsters. So every time you kill the monsters now, they get harder. But like in the early levels, it takes like 6 hits.
It's long enough for the savvy enemy jungler to kill your other buff.
Yeah, if they're invading, absolutely. There is something that people need to be aware of, the scuttle crab, or rift scuttler. I don't know what the hell it's called.
Scuttle crab works.
I like scuttle crab. Is that if you CC the scuttle crab in any kind of hard CC, it loses a significant amount of armor and magic resist.
Yep.
It takes 25% more damage after that.
I didn't know that.
It's
I've
permanent.
noticed it.
Yes, if you hard CC it in any way. Stun, knock up, disable, whatever. Airlift it.
That's
in
good
the
note.
bubble. Right.
So you should open with a hard CC.
Yes.
But then you don't have it for that little scuffle that might happen that you're talking about.
I've actually I've run into a lot of those because I've just been playing around with it just to see how effective it is. I haven't really made any giant decision on I'm gonna do this every time yet, but I will say it does add a whole different level of like, well, this is a different kind of interaction I'm having this early in the game.
Yeah,
that's not me getting ganked at a buff because you're just fighting over the crab. So and it's not like.
Have you found that with that extra 100 gold, you have to do another camp, or is it you have to do Scuddler, or what are you doing now to be safe if you're not experienced enough to take the scuttle crab?
do the three.
You just do the 3 and back. The issue with doing the 3 and back is you back and you can, like, most people are just picking up the ranger's machete right like as soon as they back, just because now that you can't buy those 3 extra potions. It's nice that when you smite, you get a big chunk of health back if you're smiting stuff
And a
other than
stun.
red. Yeah, and the stun. That's beautiful in Raptors. I've actually, like, one of my favorite things to do now is
Well, the
just-
AoE too.
Yeah. Is if you're playing a jungle champion that can AoE, any AoE. I've been playing some jungle Gragas lately. Olaf, whoever you want to talk about.
Oh, cool.
You just run over, like, as you clear your 3, go pick up a rangers, kill red buff. You don't have to worry about smiting red or anything like that. And you can run straight to the raptors and just smite it in AoE once, and all the little guys are dead, and you don't take that much damage. And you get back almost all the health that you got, like, lost while fighting red, and you basically kill the raptor without any problem. Plus, you get the raptor buff, so you can go kill a ward.
Right, because you had your smite for it.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's sad. We have to look at Cheer's face now.
So I think
God.
the main impact, I think, that this extra gold thing has is some of those junglers that were kind of not originally thought as junglers that people were bringing into the jungle are back on the shelf, I think, with this. Or it's going to be harder for them.
Yeah, it definitely hurts a couple people that were able to jungle that probably shouldn't have been in the jungle.
Didn't we mention last week that Sejuani might have a little bit of a hard time still, or is it just because she can clear her 3 and go back? She doesn't.
Doesn't.
Camp.
I don't have a problem at all. But then again, I go the 0921 utility build on her, and the biscuits are just amazing. I barely have any health lost. I clear the 3 easily. I go back. I'm keeping up in level with my solo lanes on Sejuani. Just doing my clear with the back of the Rangers Trailblazer after the 3 camps. I don't even go for Scuttle. No need. And then, yeah, she's easy. Her passive armor is actually a huge boon in the jungle for soaking up the damage that they do. And then she does the AoE plus the Rangers Trailblazer, just like she was saying, with anything AoE. You hit them with your W once, you hit the big chicken, and then they AoE the little chickens, and then you smite, and they're all dead. And you don't have to worry about that. So she's actually a very smooth jungler right now.
And the other big thing is if you do have those biscuits and you don't have a blue buff, you don't feel as bad using abilities to help you clear much faster because you're getting mana back.
Right. Yep.
I gotcha. Are you still taking... I think the biggest problem I've had with junglers right now is a lot of them have to take that second blue buff because it gives them 6.
Oh, yeah.
You have to take the second blue buff
Yeah.
if you want 6 on par with what time most other people are hitting
Right.
6.
I
Like,
like-
there isn't any... You have to pick up that second buff period, which kind of sucks if you're on purple side, because if you're on red side, you're going to be taking your red buff anyway, so you're automatically going to get it. But if you're mid laner on purple side snowballing, you could technically give them the buff, but you're going to be behind.
Watching the pros play, and they're giving the second blue buff to their mid laner, even if they're behind. So that they're confident enough in the mid laner's build.
Yeah, I was going to say they trust the people they're playing mid lane
Right.
with. That's not exactly
Exactly.
something you can do in solo queue.
Exactly.
But even last season, a lot of the junglers weren't giving up those early blues, so I think it's something a lot of mid laners are just more accustomed to now.
Yeah. You get a chalice or get your...
I was going to say, like,
Codex,
unless a mid laner is like 2 kills up, or maybe like 2 to 3 kills up by the time my second blue spawns, I'm probably taking it every time. In fact, I'm going to say if they don't have 2 kills by the time my blue spawns again, I'm taking blue buff. You gotta earn it.
You gotta earn it.
But by the time it respawns, any kind of jungle woes that you might have had from this change are gone, because you've got your Trailblazer. You're running around. Hopefully, you've tried to gank once or twice, so it's not a big deal as far as the mana issues go. It just depends. Like if you're Olaf and you like to do the Q spam to clear really fast, you're gonna need some mana. Maybe you want to take that second blue. So it depends who your mid laner is too. Do you have an Anivia who's mana hog? Maybe, like Shira said, if you trust that mid laner, if it's someone you do queue with, give it to him.
Okay. Well, we'll keep going on the patch notes since we didn't make through other. Aether Wisp is now 100 gold cheaper. The item builds have been expensified by 100 gold to accommodate. Expensified is now a word. That's the flavor text. So yeah, it was 950 and that's now 850 gold. And this affects Ardent Censer, Lichbane, Twin Shadows. Aether Wisp was just cooldown reduction move speed, correct? Or is it mana move speed?
Ability power.
Ability power
move
speed. It built
a
off
lot
of
of
a tome.
AP, actually.
Yeah, it builds out of a tome.
I think I'm thinking
And
of
the
a different
recipe.
item then for some reason.
It just gives you. It doesn't give
30
you
ability power.
CDR. It gives you AP and move speed.
Yeah, that's
30 AP and 5% move speed. That's Aether Wisp.
Right.
And I really like this reduction cost change because I would sit on that going for my Lichbane champions to play. For example, Ziggs. I like to have the extra move speed to run around. And it's nice. But they did increase everything else by 100 gold so there's no discount store-wide. So it's only this item that has a discount. The things that it builds into aren't discounted.
So what champions actually rush this? I know, Days, you would build Lichbane on Sona, but I believe you build the Sheen first rather than Aether Wisp, so
Yeah,
I'm not sure
and that
who actually
Take your
gets Aether
cameras.
Wisp first.
that depends a lot on like how the team's doing. So like I go in really early Sheen, and then I sit on it for a while, and then I get my Sightstone, and I get that sort of thing, and then if my team's ahead, then I'll go. If we're like significantly ahead, then I'll go ahead and get Lichbane. If I'm like behind, then I'll just sit on it a little bit longer, maybe build some defensive items, and then make a decision whether to build it into Iceborne Gauntlet or Lichbane. But either way, that's not something I'm rushing. Like it's only if I'm getting that Lichbane, and usually I want to like complete the item as soon as I can. I'm not just sitting on that item, so it's good. Ardent Censer is still around. It's not really used very much, and I wouldn't recommend it. It's actually not bad on like a Sona or anyone with like a decent shield. Janet's good on because your ult heals and things like that. But it's really only good if you have very heavily auto attack reliant champions. So if you have like a 480 comp or a 380 comp, and they're not 80 casters, then it's a good item. But it's very, very situational. So this affects mid lane a lot more than it does other roles. And I don't think that, again, Aether Wisp isn't something that you really rush, especially since it offers you move speed and AP. If it was offering you CDR or mana regen, it'd be different. But it's just something that you kind of get as like a means to the end.
Yeah. I see it. Usually, if I'm going towards a Lichbane, I agree. I'll get the Sheen first because that's the proc you're going for on that Lichbane champion.
Right.
But you don't want to complete the Lichbane before you have enough AP to make it really worth it. But the Aether Wisp is actually a decent item to have to give you that. If you need that extra little bit of movement speed, if you're a low mobility mid laner and you want to work towards your Lichbane anyway, and you don't, let's say you don't have enough for your needlessly large wand. Usually, if you're sitting there, you don't have a tome already sitting there to finish your Aether Wisp, you would just wait the extra 10 gold and get your Blasting Wand anyway. So this is for one of those situations where you go back, you have enough to get maybe an Amplifying Tome and a couple of wards, and then go back to your lane, and then, oh crap, I better go back now because something happened. I got just enough to finish this into an Aether Wisp. Bam.
Yeah, the only time I can see building this, though, is if I'm going for the Lichbane. Otherwise, I'm building into Phoenix Codex, because Phoenix Codex costs just a little less mana. Doesn't give you the move speed, but gives you cooldown reduction instead. And that could be more beneficial. So really, it's am I going for Lichbane? That's
That's how I see it.
Because it doesn't build anything else. I mean, you have Twin Shadows and Ardent Sensor. No one's really building an Ardent Sensor, and Twin Shadows is a support item. Pretty much. I guess TF can build
Some
it.
mids build it.
TF.
Some mids
But
build it,
again,
yeah.
even if you're building that, you're not rushing your Aether Wisp.
Right.
So
Well, it makes, you know what, if at the end of the day, it makes it more cost-effective, and we're all for cost-effective items, especially specifically step items, which is a great transition into Giant's Belt, because Giant's Belt now is built out of Ruby Crystal.
That's actually really nice.
Okay. So this was brought up, and I think Adam, myself, Punch, and our buddy Urtai were in the beginning of a game when Adam yells, "We forgot to talk about Giant's Belt," and our friend Urtai immediately yells, "How the heck did you guys forget to talk about that? That's the greatest thing ever. I never have 1,000 gold to go back and buy a Giant's Belt. Ruby
Right.
crystals all the way." So. Like, this is a huge quality of life buff for people that aren't sitting on 1,000 gold constantly and can step build to a
Frozen
decent
mallet.
Yeah, a decent health item.
Anything that step builds, I love. That's my biggest complaint about Frozen Mallet. It's not the passive so much as that it's just a shitty build path. Wit's End, the same thing. Like, Wit's End can be awesome when you get it, but sitting on a recurve bow sucks dick. Like, what is it? Runen's Hurricane is like the same way. It's got a shitty build path. It just happens to be really, really good on one champion.
Right.
Do you think maybe they'll change that? They'll put a dagger into a bow?
Into the recurve bow? That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
What you could do is just have like the dagger, just the one dagger, like upgrade into the bow.
Right. Just
And
like the
rather-
Rune Ruby Crystal upgrades in the belt.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of my big things is why people need to realize this is such an awesome change. One is what Urtai was saying that through that story is that you go back and you never have enough money to buy just the Giant's Belt. 1,000 gold is a lot of gold to go back with, and
Especially for support.
Yeah, or anybody, really. I mean, you go back, you have 700 gold, I can now buy a Ruby Crystal, and I can buy a couple wards and some potions, and
This
then I can
helps
go back
Leos
and
and Brahms.
finish my Giant Spell. And also, Ruby Crystal allows you to... Step items are great that build out of more than one item, like Ruby Crystal base items, because maybe I don't want to build a Giant Spell anymore. Maybe a team fight went weird, and I want to start suddenly going for Spirit Visage, or I want to start going for Banshee's Veil instead, because I thought I was making the right decision, but it ends up being the wrong one. But I'm not punished for buying that extra life. And not that you would be punished for having life, but you're allowed to make a better decision based on the step items that you're purchasing.
And that's
Plus-
what Riot's going for. They said that in the description.
It's also huge when you need like a quick health fix and you go back and you just immediately pick up a Ruby Crystal. You get a little bit amount of health instead of, oh, hey, I got a giant chunk off that 1,000. Doesn't do anything for you if you can't afford it and you need something now.
Right.
Yep.
Sitting on money as opposed to spending it to buy the stats now is never recommended. You always want to get some stats when you go back to base.
I know. Before this change, it would always be, I don't have enough for Giant Spell. All right, let me get a bunch of wards and pots. And then next time you go back, I still don't have enough for my Giant Spell. Let me get some more wards and pots. And then you never have enough, unless you get a kill or
And
do something. to
the
snowball.
worst feeling ever is having to go back with around 850-ish gold and
Yeah.
you want to get that giant spell,
Yep.
but you can't afford it.
See, like, Needlessly Large Rod is one of those things I've been dabbling in mid over this last weekend, and like, there's been a lot of times I'll go back with 1,500 gold, and I know I won't be able to go back for probably 2 or 3 more minutes after I leave the base, but I need to buy something, but there's nothing I can buy because I have to have that Needlessly Large Rod. So, like, I'm in this weird place where do I sit on 1,500 gold, or do I buy something with cooldown reduction, or do I buy just another blasting wand and hope that it works for me? Yeah, I'm sitting on some, nothing that builds, but you got to make those decisions. I got to make those decisions on the fly. And I'm not saying let's build Needlessly Large Rod out of anything that's available right now, but it's kind of like where I would like to see Riot move toward, like, another item rework where we have just about everything some kind of step item where there's no more 1,600 gold items.
It makes sense.
I kind of want them to do it, but at the same time, like, that item in itself gives such an interesting spike. It's the same thing with a BF sword. If you're one of those champions that's an AD carry rushing the BF sword and the enemy can't get to it, it's a pretty significant bonus for you to have that. And if you've earned that big of a purchase, and they haven't been able to do it because you've been able to bully them out or something like that, there's kind of like, I earned this, you should be punished for a little bit.
Yeah, no matter who you play as a marksman, BF sword is that's like your
huge.
ideal first buy,
Yeah.
right? And not to go too in depth into the Lola games, but this is actually something that came up during those. Is I had opportunity to buy a pickaxe instead of a BF sword, but I wanted that BF sword so bad I forewent the pickaxe and kind of sat on my money, and that hurt me big time. So it's one of those examples where you should pick up stats when you can, and instead of sitting on that money. And for marksman, BF sword it's huge, and you really want to get it, but you gotta pick up something else if you can't afford it.
I was just gonna say, yeah, it's like a counterplay mechanic almost, where you really want to, try to force them back early, and if they have to pick up that pickaxe instead of a BF, it's one more avenue and one more way to punish somebody if you were able to bully them out of lane. And eventually, if you add enough step items in, and they can just pick up something, and
Right.
it just eliminates some of that.
Good point.
Not necessarily
point.
like a snowball
strategy.
mechanic, but it is a strategy, and it is. You should be rewarded for owning your lane. You should be rewarded for playing and bullying and zoning. And there are some champions that win games because they bully and they poke and they do those things and they own the lane and they keep those people from getting those items early. And if you take that away completely, then they have
It
a lot
hurts
less
them.
potential.
Yep. No, I
Because
mean
it's a lot easier for you to stay in lane and sustain in lane until you get to your late game power spike if you're a late game carry, as opposed to, now
Right.
if you get smacked in the face enough times by a Caitlyn, you have to keep going back. Like that's what
it's that difference. Say that you end up getting a kill and they back, and then you immediately back. You would immediately back because they're going to end up buying. Let's say that they made it so BF sword builds out of a pickaxe, or a needlessly large rod builds out of your blasting wand. If you have to go back, you just get that, and then you're still at the same level of power relatively to the person that you just killed and forced to go back. In a way, like
even if you're not at the same level of power, and you're
closer.
You get a needless and they get a blasting one. That's like 2 times the amount of but it's a big difference. So okay, you're only up 40 AP now instead of you're up 80 or 100 AP. Like it's a huge difference in terms of your potential in lane.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the cost of those 2 big items, and it does suck if you're behind and you can't go back and get one of those right away. But there's also a reason for them to be that expensive. You have to be doing decently well or going even at least. Exactly that, and it would hurt a lot of champions' power spikes, and it would make it so that certain champions that are weaker early, but really strong later, don't have there isn't that kind of issue in picking them because they're still going to be able to get an item and be relatively strong.
Yeah, I'm glad we talked this through because for Giant Spell, it's a defensive item. It adds health. It's 1,000, not 1,600 or 1,550. I like it, but I agree. I think for the damage items, leave them where they're at.
Well, it's a little different.
Also, those damage items are catered to the carries, as we talked about, and you're not getting as nearly as much of a power spike from Giant Spell.
From just straight health.
Well, speaking of catering to the carries, Hextech Gunblade has been changed because of DFG's removal. They say that some of those champions may be looking for an alternative. Akali, Katarina. Those are only 2 off the top of my head. I guess I would be building Hextech Gunblade. And so Hextech Gunblade has been changed. Attack damage has been reduced from 45 to 40. The ability power has been increased from 65 to 80, and the lifesteal has been increased to 10% from 12%. Which is just a minor change in the item.
Is that the life steal on the spell vamp too?
Just lifesteal.
Okay.
Yeah, they're making it more of an AP item. So.
Yeah, it's still Gunblade's such a weird item because it only caters to like 2 or 3
to a couple champions
the entire game.
But damn, is it good for those champions?
But yeah, it's got an active. It's got the slowing active on it. It's got lifesteal, spell vamp, ability power, AD, and anybody who rotates off all 3 of those, or gets buffed by all 3 of those will want to pick the item. I don't see this. I don't see that. Hexagon Blade, nothing there. It screams to me like giant change, ban Katarina, but
if they were going to build it, they were still going to build it.
Right. Yep. Rod of Ages has had a change as well. Rod of Ages will now show the number of stacks it has on the item icon. I'm sure you've all noticed that as you've played, and you can no longer sell it.
I love it.
And get it back and not have the stacks. Like you always will have the stacks as long as you've purchased the item at some point. and we're gonna move down to ZZ Rot Portal, one of my favorite items currently.
No, hold on. No, if you sell it and then leave the base, you've lost your stacks. If you hit the undo button,
Right,
it'll come back with a stack.
Yeah,
So it's just a
tragic
fat finger kind of
misclickers that are selling it for some reason.
thing. Yep.
Okay, so which is funny. There's ZZ Rot Portal because it was a new what they call it? What is it?
Type of
Complex
item.
items mean complex bugs. It's a new item. It's a new way to. It's a new piece of the game, and so there's a whole bunch of bugs they fixed. And I thought some of these were kind of funny, in that attack modifiers didn't affect the structures. And now that I've read that and they fixed it, so attack modifiers such as it acts like a turret now. It'll take 40% of your
Right.
EP as damage.
It acts like a structure instead of a creature.
Creature, right? Because I remember standing there one day as a Karma attacking it, and I had to throw, I think, like 25 auto attacks at it to kill it in its first form. And it wasn't dying. So the things like that have been changed. But the big things here, the Void Spawn. The armor has been increased from 60 to 115. Or 115, yeah. From 60 to 115. The magic resist was 40, it's now down to 20. Base health has been decreased to 40. Health per level has been decreased to 15. Base damage to minions has been increased to 30. Damage per level to minions decreased to 2. Damage per level to structures has been decreased to 10. So a little more durable. They push a little less hard than they did previously. Because they're not doing as much damage to minions and not doing much damage to towers as they previously did. Void Spawns gain bonus damage from 100% of the summoning champion's armor and magic resist, rather than 50. And Void Spawn's party, the Void Spawn bonus is applied to the first and every fourth Void Spawn.
Okay.
So the very first one gets that Void Spawn bonus, and the fourth one gets it as well.
Kind of like cannon minion idea of spawning minions.
Yeah.
It has its own little cannon minion.
Yeah, tankier minions give the players more windows of opportunity to actually attack the turret, as opposed to throwing down a ZZ top portal and then kind of gimmicking your way to a free tower kill while everybody else is somewhere else because these minions do so much damage. So this seems like a change catering to playing with people as opposed to kind of gimmicking the item.
Leaving it on its own.
I really like this item right now on like Maokai top lane. If you are it's kind of one of those where if you're ahead by like a kill or you've got an assist or something and you've been able to complete your Rod of Ages relatively early, 11, 12 minutes rather than 15, because you get the life from Rod of Ages and now you're getting the armor and magic resist from ZZ Rot. So that picking that up, you've got to combine both of those. Now you are giving up Righteous Glory or Randuin's for it. It's one of those where you have to figure out how the game is going and if you can use it effectively to push a lane back. What I really also like about the Rot Portal is I picked it up on Shen for fun. I think I rushed it on Shen versus the Jax. Not a good rush, okay, but it was just fun to do. And it ended up being a great anti-pushing technique because I dropped it next to my tower, and he could never push it to my tower because the guys were always coming out and blowing up the wave. So he could never make it to my tower to push it down.
Yeah, I'm curious about this though. I haven't messed with it though because I haven't purchased it yet. But the bug fix, sturdy portals, void gates can now be collided against for the purpose of spells like Poppy's heroic charge. If Jarvan's banned out and you have a Gnar, does the Gnar pick one of these up to throw and then Gnar someone against?
I want to see that. I want to see a video of a Poppy dropping it in front of the person as she eats them.
That would be amazing.
Or Vayne.
Vayne just knocking people into it.
Of course, it doesn't give
what's
you
the range?
stats to actually kill people.
Poppy
So
doesn't
there's
need them.
that.
Poppy just needs a sheen.
It's defensive
true.
stats though.
Now,
Everybody can.
just because
benefit.
you can be collided against, does that mean people can't run through it anymore? Or, I mean, it doesn't say that you can't still run through it. So what? You get smacked
think
into
you
it
can.
and then you immediately walk through it?
I would assume
No.
you can't walk through it. I'm assuming you have to walk around it.
I'd assume
Well, then
it's like,
what's to stop multiple
turret.
people from getting that and then creating their own makeshift Anivia wall in one spot?
Let's try it.
Well,
wanna see
okay.
it.
So everybody gets that now. They don't have their offensive items, or they're all like you've got the 80
I
carry. and
didn't
that
say
stuff.
it was
Everybody's
gonna
one
be-
defensive item. That'll work.
I didn't say it was going to be a smart move.
Okay, so we can do a Zir, a Nivea, and 5 Zizarot portals and make a circle.
It's
Yep.
like the
Or a
old Heimer
box.
turret early, just spam, except it's portals.
Can we
and
use
then
it
everyone flashes out of it, and you're like,
Yeah.
Can we use 5 of them to block a minion wave and like pool up a minion wave somehow?
That's an idea.
That is an idea.
'Cause you can do it with
get
an Anivia
super
wall.
minions spawning.
Can we
from
block
some
off the
spot?
base, like the how to get out of the base, so they have to walk around through the gate, and now they're walking, and they
After you crack that inhibitor turret, yeah, just
yeah,
block it
right.
off.
This is and nobody
then-
uses an Anivia wall. And we
No.
block off all of it. This is the
Then
best.
you-
Oh my god, this
Then
is
maybe your
great.
minions
wall
can't get
comms.
through it. No, I think the way I read that particular change, it just means that for the purpose of spells. So I don't know if it's like a turret or the ruins of a turret where it's actual terrain, but as far as like blocking movement, so I don't know. I haven't bought it, so
I don't
I'm gonna
know
do a
if
custom
it's
game right now.
yeah. Check that out and let me know because I'm,
Well, we'll come
I'm
back to
curious. Even though I don't think that'd be a smart thing to do.
I love it, chat. I'm hearing the best awful cheese strategies right now.
Yeah, there's no way that strategy is good whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
I still want to see it happen.
Yeah, I know, right?
really bad.
Okay, in the last change in this patch, besides ranked team decay and Nemesis draft eventually coming, is that Dragon had a change. The attack range of Dragon has been increased to 500 from 350, and attack speed increased. Base damage has been reduced so that overall damage per second remains the same. So it attacks more quickly and it attacks you further away. You can still be pulled out, but this change helps out quite a bit so that you can't de-aggro the Dragon. It's a lot harder to de-aggro the Dragon now that it can
I've
attack
noticed.
further away.
It takes a little bit longer to pull it out just because you have to run farther back for it to do it. But
Yeah, that dragon's a pain in the ass now. I've had a couple team fights this weekend where we would fight the dragon, disengage, and engage the enemy team, except the dragon is still pouching our backline because the damn thing never
I've
disengages.
noticed that too.
Yep.
I've noticed that
Which
too.
I don't have a problem with. If you're starting the dragon and it's attacking you, it's this
should
big
be at a disadvantage.
mad creature. it should
you
be
aggro
attacking
the boss, it should keep attacking you.
Right?
you. It just makes sense. Yeah, I did notice this change when I was playing Xerath. It wasn't ever on me, but our team had it. We pulled it out away from the other team. We're fighting, doing the whole river dance up and down, and it allowed me extra time to get off a couple more spells, which allowed us to siege and take the dragon because I had that extra time. Now, indirect buff to siege champions, but it's not really a buff. It's just like, a neat little thing you can do. You have a little more time to play with it depending on the comp you're playing with. I like any change that makes it so the dragon is harder, makes it so those Baron is harder. Yeah, I'm okay with.
Yeah, it changes dragon fights a bit. It's something teams need to be aware of. As opposed to, solo queue where the dragon is attacking the squishies. And
I feel like you really, really, really want to talk about your solo queue experience with dragon right now.
I want to hear it.
He has this look in his eye, like he's just ready to tell us.
I have solo queue experiences in general, but they are not pertinent to these patch notes. They are pertinent to something else we might talk about. But we can get there later.
Are we talking about Tristana? That's what we're talking about. We have
Yes.
We have 20 minutes left, and I already said we're doing patch notes Tristana. And if we have 20 minutes left in the podcast, we'll talk about the Lola stuff. Which, unfortunately, time is of the essence. I don't know.
Tristana.
Time's not in that chat's favor.
Yeah, time is not in that chat's favor. So let's talk about Tristana. We did chat with her a little bit. Chatted about her last week. Your on-the-fly math was really poor.
Yep,
We
it always
admitted
is.
that later. I know Days has probably
didn't
played
challenge it
with the
either.
new Tristana in the bottom lane.
Yeah.
You see,
Punch,
it
start
doesn't
the
matter that
conversation, and then let's talk about.
it doesn't matter that my on-the-fly math is pretty poor because the point I was trying to get across was her burst damage potential is huge, and that is absolutely 100% accurate. I'm not sure where to start with Tristana. I played her a lot this weekend. I played her on Friday where I was annoyingly drunk, and I probably pissed off everybody I was playing with.
that was
I probably
so
didn't
much
play with
fun.
me
They
ever
were
again.
so much fun.
Oh,
But I had a lot of success with her, and then I played her through my promos this weekend, and again had a lot of success. But I learned a bit more about her, in that she's not as glaringly overpowered as I initially thought she was. So again, the changes Riot wanted to make was they wanted to turn Tristana, or they wanted to give Tristana more early and mid game presence at the expense of some late game power. They definitely succeeded, more or less, in the early game department. Her burst damage is gigantic, as I said, and that extends to her level 2 all-in with the proper support, namely someone who can lock down your opponent like Leona or Thresh. I'm thinking Braum, though I haven't really played with him yet. I just think that his passive will work really well with her explosive shot. So if you got one of those supports with you at level 2, you have insanely strong all-in, and you can, the vast majority of the time, force a summoner spell or just kill them outright. So, with that in-lane power, Tristana has an increased chance to snowball into the mid and late game. However, if she does not snowball, I feel like her mid game is even worse than prior.
Really?
Because of the attack speed scaling reduction. So when you get to your mid game and you're not snowballed ahead, your E doesn't do that much damage anymore. Half because you don't have a ton of items, and half because it's really hard to get those 4 stacks. And if you just don't have the right team comp to lock somebody down long enough for you to get 4 auto attacks on somebody that use your sticky bomb with, then you're just not going to get the full amount of stacks. You're not going to get the full amount of damage. So you're kind of reduced to an auto attack focused champion at that point. And because they heavily reduce her attack speed scaling, that makes it so that her attack speed, or her mid game, where she becomes an auto attack focused champion, is much weaker. However, thanks to her range and her rapid fire, she still has high late game potential. Particularly when her rapid fire is on, which is a 5-second window. So if you've got your rapid fire on for 5 seconds, you can mow down whatever tank you want. That was my experience in solo queue games. I had 2 really long games with Tristana where I got to a point where I could sell my boots and buy a second Phantom Dancer, and I can mow down whoever I wanted, so long as my rapid fire was active. Also, at that point in the game, I stopped using the sticky bomb because it has a cast time. It replaces your auto attack. And when you're that far into late game, you don't want to sacrifice auto attacks. You want to get as many off as you can. So you just kind of avoid using that unless you're pushing turrets. So that's basically how she works throughout the course of a game. I do want to touch on using the sticky bomb on her turrets more. That is absolutely amazing. She is a great tower killer and pusher right now. She's probably the best in the game because that bomb does so much damage to turrets. And it's pretty easy to get 4 stacks on the turret because the turret's not running away from you. Also, it's a great form of harassment when you're in lane because you can throw that bomb on the turret, hit it 4 times, and then make sure you back off before it explodes because you're going to get tower aggro immediately. But because of the increased explosion radius on turrets, you're going to hit, you're probably going to hit the support in the ADC, and that they're going to take the 4-stack damage, which is pretty significant.
I'd never thought about using it on the towers like that to
hurt
somebody.
As Durishan had brought up that she's crazy in mid lane right now too, because
Yes.
you can just throw that bomb on a turret and you just eat the turret.
Bully the lane in.
Yeah, there has been a lot of talk in T-Force chat actually, where people were discussing Tristana, and there were mixed opinions. Some people thought that she was really, really good now, like as Durishan. He thinks that her burst is so powerful that she can be taken into the mid lane. And there are some people that felt like her attack speed got nerfed too hard, whereas she's just not that great anymore.
Well, fun fact about Tristana is that I was talking to Dom with this. Dom and I had a small argument because I was hunting to that camp where I was like, no, she's not a hyper carry anymore because her attack speed got nerfed. And he pointed out that Jinx is a hyper carry. And Jinx actually has a lower attack speed than Tristana and no attack speed buff outside of auto attacking with Pow Pow. But Jinx is still considered a hyper carry. Like, she doesn't gain attack speed. Like, Tristana gains an instant 110% attack speed with her Q. And not Pow Pow. The machine gun, whatever the one that one is.
Well, like I said,
Pow Pow is the one. Yeah, because Pow Pow and Fishbone. Sorry, I didn't think through that one. But no,
Right.
but Jinx is still considered a hyper carry, but has less attack speed overall than Tristana does. And Tristana actually gains range as the game goes on to be more than what Jinx is. So even at that point where you're just talking auto attacks, Tristana is technically more of a hyper carry than, or the same amount of a hyper carry as Jinx is.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah, like I did say, when my attack speed bonus was active, I could just mow anybody down that I wanted, but it's only for 5 seconds, whereas Jinx, once he gets those 3 attacks off, you get to her maximum attack speed bonus from minigun, which you can get pretty fast late game, because she's going to have Phantom Dancer, maybe 2 Phantom Dancers. She's going to get that maximum attack speed pretty quickly. She's going to have that for a much longer period of time, and when you're attacking a tank, if you can't kill them within that 5 seconds, you need all the time you can get to mow them down.
Sure.
I mean, the example I'm thinking of during my games this weekend was against a Mumu who had Thornmail, Sunfire, Frozen Heart. So yeah, tons of attack armor and he would basically focus me, like whatever he could do to get to me. Flash, ult, bandage toss, ult, like run around, leave his team to die, get to the back lines just to get to me.
Just to get to you?
Whatever he could do, because he knew I was an unstoppable juggernaut. But it was really hard to kill him before he can get a stun off, even with the 5 seconds. 5 seconds is a long time.
Right. Okay.
There's something else I wanted to mention, but I totally forgot when
I brought up the hypercarry.
Right. Crap. Nope, lost it. It's gone.
Well,
it's gone.
He'll remember it eventually, I'm sure.
So coming from a support's point of view, Days, how does it feel playing with the new Tristana? Are there any supports that you specifically feel pair well with her moving into mid-game? We hadn't really talked about her mid-game power, if it's, there and whatnot, so...
Yeah, laning with her is a lot easier now, especially if they play her fairly aggressively. Just put some pressure on the lane. They don't have to go like full crazy jumping into everything, but you can elicit a lot more pressure on her now than you could if you were just playing her pre-patch. And it just gives you a little bit more versatility as a support. I think she pairs really well with aggressive supports that can lock them down long enough for her to get, her stacks off and things like that. But she does fairly well with a pokey support as well. If you can just kind of pressure the lane together and you get them low enough that she can go ahead and throw the E on, or go ahead and get her stacks on and then jump in afterwards. You can get some pretty good kills that way too. I've played with several of them. I played with my duo playing them and other solo queue ADCs, and even when she didn't get fed in lane, or she had she got really big near the end of the game, around 30 minutes. So I don't know. We got stomped in lane, and even in mid game, Triss was able to pull back and start really crushing some people, and she was able to pull ahead at the end. So I'm not really convinced that her mid game's worse than it was before. I've heard a couple people say that, and I'm not really convinced of that just yet. But yeah, her laning potential is significantly better, and her late game, you can just let her on her own. She doesn't even need you as a support anymore. You can just focus on lockdown in the team.
That's a good point that you brought up, her poking potential with E. So if she doesn't get 3 or 4 auto attacks off with the E, it's not going to do a ton of damage. But the mana cost is low enough on E that you can cast it a lot. Namely, every time they get with an auto attack range, you can just throw it on them and then start attacking, and they're going to back off, which makes it a very effective zoning tool because they don't want to trade with you when you've got that bomb on top of them. So it's a great thing to pair with the pokey support, where you're trying to zone them away from the creeps. Every time they get close enough, you just throw a bomb, hit them once, and they're going to book it out of there.
What is the mana cost?
I have to look it up. I don't know offhand.
Really low.
I just know that I can cast it enough. Since Q is free, and W I'm not going to use unless I'm all laning or escaping. That's the only spell I'm using in lane. So I've never had a problem with mana.
I do notice, by the way, testing
70. That's how much it costs at rank 1. And it goes 70, 75, 80, 85, 90.
It's actually pretty significant.
It's not
like
that
I said,
bad.
it's the only spell you're casting. Pretty much.
Yeah, because Rapid Fire doesn't
What's the
cost any
cooldown?
mana, and Rocket Jump is 60 mana, and you're using Rocket Jump
okay.
for an all-in. So yeah, you're right. When you put it that way, and that's the only spell you're casting,
It is pretty mana efficient.
Yeah, I was about to say, how often are you actually casting Rocket Jump unless you're going to kill somebody or if things go really, really bad?
Right, you're not using Rocket Jump to harass.
Right.
That doesn't happen.
What? You're not just jumping in and detonating 3 charges to get 75% increased damage?
I did do that when I was drunk, and more often than not, it worked out for some crazy reason.
Nice.
And we got a kill because of it.
God, I want everybody to hear Drunk Punch because it's the funniest thing you've ever heard. Because this guy's the most mild-mannered person ever. Then you start talking about Blue Ezreal and tell him if he would have played Blue Ezreal that game. And he's, shut up! No, shut up!
He also gets really sad when we start picking kind of trolly picks. He's like, you guys were supposed to carry me.
I'm glad you thought it was funny as opposed to really annoying.
It was hilarious.
Oh my god, it was the best. I wish I could have stayed and just kept playing.
Have you ever seen a Zillion Tristana lane? Because she pretty much puts a bomb on people now.
That would be awesome. It is very much like a bomb, and even has that ticking
Harass
sensation
the
before it goes
shit out
off.
of people. Yeah.
Haven't seen it yet because I haven't seen Zillion support in a long time.
The
boom
but it would be
boom lane.
really annoying to play against.
Boom, boom, yeah.
The boom
You
boom.
fall down and go boom.
Oh, that's what
Yeah,
By the way-
important. If you're playing against a Tristana, you have to back off when she E's you. You just have to. It's kind of like a Varus or a Twitch, where like that little bit of damage doesn't mean a thing, and as soon as it gets stacks on you and then they detonate it, it's devastating. And you don't realize how much it hurts until it's done, and then you can't recover from it.
I feel like that's an awesome tool to be able to zone people off like cannon minions and other things if they don't
Oh,
have
yeah,
somebody
absolutely.
like easily just
Well,
there's cannon minion show up.
It's
Well, let's
60
get 'em off.
damage base. Just
Yeah.
that's how much damage
Feels-
it's doing.
It feels like when a Kalissa's attacking you, you kind of want to get out of her rend range before she uses it again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's no getting out of the range of this one, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Just gonna
There have been a few times where somebody would
It'll blow
escape,
up.
and then my teammates thought they escaped for good, and they barely got away. And I'm just sitting there counting the seconds
Wait.
of my bomb, like, yeah, he should be exploding right about. Oh yeah,
First
I'm gonna kill him
blood.
today. All right.
So if you're
By the
trading with Tristana, you want to wait till that explosive charge has been used on you, back off, go in, and try to trade with her.
Or have a large amount of burst damage, like Graves. I think Graves is actually pretty
Out-traded.
decent against her.
Scare
If
her
he
off.
just blows his load
decent
and then
enough.
gets out of there before she has a chance to respond, he's going to win those trades, and eventually
Feel-
he can go all in on her.
I feel
Maybe
like
you'll
that's
make her
a
drop out.
lot of mana for him to use in comparison to her just spending 70-ish early. I mean, if he goes into Q and then ease out or something like that, that's way more mana than she spent just throwing one ability.
By the way, I'm testing the ZZ Rock portal just for its ability to block things, and it's like a creature or a structure, I guess. Minions move around it. They have
Somebody
to
in
go
chat
around
was
it.
saying it's buggy right now. Like
So
sometimes you can walk through it, or sometimes you don't.
Well,
go
it's
down
not like
properly.
it hasn't had its fair share of bugs since it was
Yeah.
released, so
You know what?
not
Lancifer
surprised.
actually had I have to point out his pun here because I'm really sad that DeClaude did not say this. That Tristana Zillion, that lane would be the bomb.
because that's a terrible pun.
Womp
That one was
womp.
amazing. Honestly, I'm very disappointed in you for not.
And
doing
that's
it
why
well.
you're not the pun king,
Thank
Adam.
you.
I didn't make that pun up.
No, that's fine. You thought it was funny, so get out.
You know what?
I'm banning
I
DeClaude from now
appreciate-
on.
I appreciate that it was thrown out there.
I'm banning DeClaude from ever posting in the T4 subreddit ever again because he's a moderator and he's posting puns.
I only did one.
I know.
No character limit.
I like Froshy's attempt better, where he says Tristan Zillion lane is an explosive combination.
See? That's pretty good too.
Well, I think that's we've pretty much gone through all of patch 5.2. So patch 5.2 continued is done at this point, and I've got nothing else. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, that covers everything patch 5.2. I think the main discussions were the Giant's Belt and the Jungle item that we missed. That were kind of
Well, then I'm going to close up this podcast with a point that I didn't bring up earlier. Well, I got two things. One, RedMercy is coming on the show. I didn't actually say that ever. I never announced that. Like,
Hey, you say it at the end of the show. People aren't like they tuned out.
they'll hear
5
it.
minutes
Especially
ago.
since you just said you're closing out the podcast.
Yeah, that was the last
all
thing.
left.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
the
that's fine.
podcast is over, guys. Hey, just so you know.
But you know what? If they stick around and they're loyal listeners, they'll loyally listen to RedMercy on Wednesday. He is a mid lane. I call him the mid lane mogul. He loves to. He's a Zed master. Makes YouTube videos. He's gonna come on and talk mid. We wanted to grab somebody that plays a lot of mid, and we want to talk about DFG removal. We want to talk about how to play mid properly. You know,
He has really good
all that
videos.
stuff.
You should
So,
check it
yeah,
out.
The guy's really great, and we're really excited to bring him on. And for anybody out there who has some kind of like Lola conspiracy theory of why we haven't talked about it yet,
It's real. The conspiracy is
the
real.
conspiracy is real.
Thank you.
I
Punch.
will tell you that I want to talk about them. I'm not salty about the losses. We lost. Okay, here I'll tell you because I give you guys a week. We
I was
lost.
about to say you should
2-0.
really touch on this, or
Right.
else people are gonna
On Saturday, we lost to them 2-0. It was first two games and out. First game, just to give you a recap, first game, we were coming back in the mid game. We were doing well in team fights, and then we had a very strong throw near Baron, a very, very strong throw where we just chased way too hard. If we would have backed off, we would have recomposed. You know, we got to kill. It's one of those you got to kill, and you just keep going too far. and you're trying too hard to make something happen because we were so far behind and so frustrated. And in game 2, we had an unfortunate feed of Graves at one point. Like, we were even, and then the Graves just got too much to deal with, and the game snowballed out of control for that.
I will say they were absolutely brilliant in the fact that 3/4 of their kills ended up on their AD carry.
On the character that mattered the most.
Every single time, and then they just peeled for him. And god damn it, Papa Smurf, I hate you and your Janna. It's just really good. It's very good Janna.
Yep.
Really annoying, especially when I like to kill people and you don't let me do it.
We like to
You don't let me.
fun. But
you're a jerk.
So with that said, we did go tune out, we did play, but we kind of feel, well, I feel, and I'm the one that takes care of what we're talking about. I feel that taking care of game when it comes to patch notes and bringing like RedMercy on and this stuff, like it just happens to come out this week. Like bringing you things that get you better at this game rather than us dissecting the games and talking about that is more important because it's going to make you better at the game rather than listening to how to play 5s. Because there's like the number of you that play 5s compared to the number of solo queue is probably significantly less, I'm assuming. And that might get me in trouble for saying that. However, with all that said, Days has told me today that she wants to work on a video for that where she actually dissects each of the games and goes over everything that was on there. And I think that's a fantastic idea, and I think that's better than us talking about it because you can actually see what's going on. You can see me jump in and miss. You can see me get blown up, and Days can be like, this is where Adam fucked up right here, and he's really bad at the game, and he shouldn't play this character. And I'm okay with
I have so many notes, and they're all Adam screwing up. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, there's a lot to go over, and it's really hard to generalize when you can't see what's going on.
Right, and it's so much. When this gets released, anybody who really wants to know anything should go and do it because Days got to watch the whole thing, so she was super critical the whole time anyway. And it's way better than just imagining how things went from hearing it on the airwaves or whatever, the intraweb. So go see it and get some.
We will have that video out hopefully within I would assume the next week and a half. I'm gonna work with Days to really push that forward and get this taken care of, and I'm gonna get her in contact with Brandon so that she knows, so we can get someone with some graphics to look at this as well.
You know what? Until then, if any of you plays Syndra, something I learned during that match: don't throw the blue buff at your turret because your turret will ignore it.
God, I
I'm
don't
like, wait a
even-
minute, maybe it was out of range. Let me throw it there again.
I had completely blocked that whole event from my
It's
memory,
back.
and
Something.
I hate you so much.
Well,
Why do I still play this game with you after
I
that?
learned.
you learned in that game. But this isn't to say we are not down and out. We are going to take our time to recoup, and we're actually. You guys would think I'm going to run right back in and grab the belt. No, that's not how this works. The belt they get to defend the belt against somebody else, and we will host it on the T-Force Network channel. As soon as these guys come to us and say we want to defend the belt against these people, the Turning Force podcast is going to host it. We're going to make sure that that's up there because that is the Turning Force podcast championship belt.
Champions, guys.
It gives them time to gloat if they want to do it too. And what would this be if not just us talking? I mean, not that they've talked any shit towards us or anybody on our podcast other than Adam talking any smack about them.
And I like to have fun.
I really like the Lola guys, and they've been very, very awesome to talk to.
So I know those
Keep
guys
up the good
probably
work,
listen to this.
boys.
Yeah, keep up the good work, and you guys can go listen to them. That's the League of Legends Anonymous podcast. Please check them out. They do a fantastic job of covering things that we cannot cover because they have a different. They have the same yet different perspective on the game, and sometimes that's what you need when you're out there listening to podcasts. So we do support them quite a bit. We actually support pretty much every podcast that's out there for League because we want this community to grow. We just want people to get better.
There's enough space for everybody, and the more content.
And I want my belt back eventually, but I'm going to give them a chance. And we're going to train hard, and we're going to come back for it. So whoever has the belt, it might not be against Lola guys. Who the hell do I know? Maybe Face Check will come in and take it. Maybe the Badger and the Arena guys will just come in and just wipe the floor with them. The hell if I know what's going to go on. So yeah, that's it. That's the whole Lola conspiracy deflate gate bullshit. I don't care what you want to call it. That's episode number 231 of the Trinity Force podcast. So, guys, thank you very much for joining us on episode 232. RedMercy will come on, and we will see you all on Wednesday.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
See
Have a
ya.
good night.